A CEO walked into his office and found a handwritten note from the night janitor. What it said should have been impossible, but when he investigated further, it nearly destroyed his $200 million company and changed his life forever. Before we dive in, hit subscribe, like this video, and turn on notifications. Stories like this one, they're why we do what we do. The note on the desk. The fluorescent lights flickered to life as Daniel Frost pushed through the glass doors of Frost and Lock Industries. It was 5:47 a.m., and the Boston skyline was still shrouded in darkness. The CEO's polished Oxfords clicked against a marble floor, the sound echoing through the empty lobby. He hadn't slept again. The FDA audit was in 3 days, and the future of their breakthrough drug, Nexolin, hung in the balance. $200 million in research, a decade of work, and the hopes of thousands of patients rested on this one approval. Daniel's office was immaculate, as always. His assistant, Rebecca, made sure of that. But this morning, something was off. A single sheet of paper sat in the center of his mahogany desk, slightly crumpled, as if someone had hesitated before leaving it there. He picked it up. The handwriting was uneven, scrawled in blue ballpoint ink. Mr. Frost, the lab results are wrong. The numbers don't add up. Marty, Daniel frowned. Marty? Marty Kowalski, the night janitor. The guy who emptied trash cans and mopped floors. The one who barely spoke to anyone. What the hell was this? He almost crumpled the note and tossed it. A prank? A disgruntled employee trying to stir up chaos before the audit? But something made him pause. Marty wasn't the type to joke around. The man was quiet, almost invisible, just part of the building's background noise. Daniel exhaled sharply and dropped into his chair. He pulled up the latest clinical trial reports on his monitor, scanning the columns of data. At first glance, everything was perfect, just as his team had assured him, but then his eyes caught it. A tiny discrepancy in the Phase 3 results. A decimal point shifted, a percentage that didn't quite align with the raw data. His stomach tightened. No, that couldn't be right. He cross-checked the files, pulling up backups, running the numbers again. The error was subtle, but it was there. If the FDA caught it, they'd flag the entire application. Delays, investigations, maybe even a full rejection. Daniel's fingers hovered over his keyboard, his mind racing. How had no one noticed this? His scientists, his analysts, how had they missed it? And why had Marty? A knock at the door startled him. Rebecca leaned in, her usual polished smile in place. Morning, Daniel. You're here early. Everything okay? He quickly minimized the screens. Yeah, just getting a head start. She nodded, but her eyes flickered to the note still lying on his desk. Anything you need before the morning meeting? No, thanks. The door clicked shut behind her, and Daniel stared at the note again. He should dismiss it, report it to HR, assume Marty had somehow accessed confidential files and overstepped. But another thought nagged at him. What if Marty was right? He grabbed his phone and pulled up the employee directory. Martin Kowalski, janitorial staff, hired 6 years ago. No prior complaints. No disciplinary notes. Just a clean record. And now, a note that could blow his company apart. Daniel stood abruptly, his chair rolling back. He needed to talk to Marty. Now, but when he stepped into the hallway, the early morning crew was already gone. The floors gleamed under fresh wax, the trash bins emptied. Marty's shift ended at 5 a.m. He'd have to wait. Back in his office, Daniel reopened the files, his pulse quickening as he dug deeper. The discrepancies weren't just in one report. They were threaded through months of data, small enough to overlook, big enough to ruin them. And the only person who'd seen it coming was the man who cleaned their offices at night, the whistleblower. The fluorescent hum of the parking garage lights buzzed like an angry swarm as Daniel Frost leaned against his car, arms crossed, breath visible in the cold pre-dawn air. He checked his watch, 4:55 a.m. Marty Kowalski's shift ended at 5, which meant the janitor would be clocking out any minute. Daniel had spent the night dissecting the clinical reports, his stomach twisting tighter with each inconsistency he uncovered. The discrepancies weren't random. They followed a pattern. small enough to slip past initial reviews, but deliberate enough to skew the drug's efficacy data. Someone had tampered with the numbers. And if the FDA found out before he did, Frost and Locke was finished. The service door creaked open and a figure shuffled out, shoulders hunched under a worn Navy jacket. Marty. The janitor froze when he saw Daniel. His grip tightened on the strap of his duffel bag, his knuckles whitening. For a long second, neither man moved. Then Marty lowered his head and turned toward the bus stop. Marty. Daniel's voice cut through the silence. We need to talk. The janitor stopped but didn't turn around. I shouldn't have left that note. Why did you? Marty exhaled, his breath a cloud in the frigid air. When he finally faced Daniel, his eyes were wary, like a man who'd learned to expect trouble. Because it's wrong. You're not a scientist. No, Marty's voice was quiet. But I used to be. Daniel stiffened. What? Marty glanced around, as if afraid someone might be listening. Can we talk somewhere else? 10 minutes later, they sat in a dingy 24-hour diner, the smell of burnt coffee and grease thick in the air. Marty cradled a steaming mug between his hands, but didn't drink. I was a chemist, he said finally. 12 years at Leighton Pharmaceuticals. Daniel frowned. Leighton was a mid-tier competitor, notorious for cutting corners. What happened? Marty's thumb traced a chip in the ceramic. They falsified data. A hypertension drug. I found out. Reported it. His jaw tightened. They fired me for insubordination. Blacklisted me. No lab would touch me after that. Daniel's pulse thudded in his ears. So you became a janitor. Bills don't pay themselves. Marty met his eyes for the first time. I recognized equipment at Frost and Locke, the protocols, and then I saw the numbers. He leaned forward. Someone altered the raw data before it was compiled. The success rates are inflated. A chill crawled down Daniel's spine. You're sure? Run the calculations yourself. The outliers are too perfect. Real trials don't look like that. Daniel's phone buzzed. A text from Elena Vasquez, his CFO. Where are you? 7 a.m. strategy meeting. FDA prep. He silenced it. If you're right, this isn't just a mistake. It's fraud. Marty nodded. Who would do this? The janitor hesitated. I don't know, but I've seen the way your lead researcher works late, the way he locks his files. Daniel went very still. Liam Carter? Marty didn't confirm it. He didn't have to. The office was in chaos when Daniel returned. Elena intercepted him the second he stepped off the elevator. There you are. Her heels clicked furiously as she matched his stride. We have 2 days until the audit and you disappear? Daniel kept walking. Delay it. Elena grabbed his arm. What? Tell the FDA we need a week. Are you insane? We've been preparing for her. Someone tampered with the Nexalin data. Elena's grip loosened. Her face paled. That's impossible. Daniel pulled up the files on his tablet, highlighting the discrepancies. Look at these numbers. The variance is statistically unnatural. Someone manipulated them. Elena scanned the screen, her lips pressed into a thin line. Then she shook her head. No, this is a glitch, or a rounding error. We'll recrunch the numbers, but we are not delaying the audit. Elena, do you have any idea what a delay would do to our stock? Her voice dropped to a hiss. Or are you taking advice from the janitor now? Daniel froze. How did you know about Marty? Elena blinked. Then she scoffed. Please. The whole floor is talking about you interrogating him in the parking lot. She straightened her blazer. Look, I get it. You're stressed. But Liam's team has vetted this data a dozen times. Trust your people, Daniel. He studied her face, the tightness around her eyes, the way her fingers drummed against her tablet. Was she genuinely confident, or was she hiding something? I want Liam in my office in an hour, he said quietly, and pull the security footage from the lab for the past month. Elena's nostrils flared. This is a waste of time. Then humor me. She stormed off, her perfume lingering like a threat. Daniel turned toward his office and nearly collided with Liam Carter himself. The researcher stood in the hallway, a coffee in one hand, his other clenched around a flash drive. His smile was easy, but his eyes darted to Elena's retreating figure. "Hey, Daniel." Liam's voice was too casual. "Heard you were looking for me?" Daniel's skin prickled. The cover-up. The air in Daniel's office felt thick, charged with unspoken accusations. Liam Carter stood just inside the door, his usual confident demeanor fraying at the edges. His fingers tapped restlessly against the flash drive in his hand, a nervous rhythm that didn't match the easy smile he was forcing. Daniel didn't offer him a seat. "You've been working late," Daniel said, his voice low. Liam shrugged. "Big project. You know how it is." "I do." Daniel leaned back in his chair, studying him. "Funny thing, though, Marty Kowalski, our janitor, thinks there's something off about the Nexalin data." A flicker of tension crossed Liam's face. There and gone in an instant. "Marty? The guy who mops the floors." He chuckled, but it sounded hollow. "Since when does he review clinical reports?" "Since he used to be a chemist." Daniel kept his tone casual, watching for a reaction. "Turns out he's got a sharp eye for numbers, especially when they've been adjusted." Liam's fingers stilled around the flash drive. "Daniel, come on. You're not seriously taking this seriously, are you? The guy's probably just looking for attention. Or maybe he's the only one who noticed what no one else wanted to see." Daniel stood, circling the desk. "Run me through the Phase 3 results again. The raw data this time." Liam hesitated. "Just a fraction of a second too long. It's all in the system. You've seen it. I've seen the compiled reports. I want the original files." "Why?" Liam's voice tightened. "We're days away from FDA approval. Everything's been vetted, double-checked. Then it shouldn't be a problem to show me." Silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. Liam's throat worked as he swallowed. Then, abruptly, his shoulders slumped. "It wasn't supposed to go like this," he muttered. Daniel's stomach dropped. Liam ran a hand through his hair, his breath coming faster. "The initial trials weren't perfect. The efficacy rate was lower than we projected, just by a few percentage points, but enough that the FDA would have asked for more testing, more time." He looked up, desperation in his eyes. "We were so close, Daniel. Another delay would have killed investor confidence. The board was already breathing down your neck. So you falsified the data." The words came out flat, devoid of emotion. Liam flinched. "I tweaked a few outliers. Just enough to balance the numbers. The drug works. You know it works. This was just smoothing the edges." Daniel stared at him, disbelief curdling into anger. "People's lives depend on this, Liam. You don't get to smooth the edges with the FDA. I was trying to save us." Liam's voice cracked. "If we delayed again, competitors would have beaten us to market. Frost and Locke would have been swallowed whole." Daniel turned away, his fists clenched. He'd trusted Liam, mentored him, and in return, the man had risked everything: the company, their reputation, patience, to cover his own mistakes. "Get out. Daniel, get out of my office. And don't come back." Liam's face twisted, but after a beat, he turned and left, the door clicking shut behind him. Daniel sank into his chair, his mind racing. He had to contain this. The FDA couldn't find out. Not yet. He needed proof, a plan, damage control. His phone buzzed. A message from Rebecca. Security pulled the lab footage. "You need to see this." The video was grainy but clear enough. There was Liam, hunched over a workstation late at night, his face illuminated by the glow of the monitor. He typed furiously, then swiveled in his chair to glance at the door, nervous, paranoid. A few clicks, and the screen changed. Data streams, spreadsheets. Then, unmistakably, the moment he altered the numbers, Daniel's chest tightened. It was one thing to hear the confession, another to see it. "There's more," said the security officer, fast-forwarding. The timestamp jumped ahead, 2:17 a.m. The lab door opened again. Elena Vasquez stepped inside. Daniel's breath caught. She and Liam spoke in hushed tones, their body language tense. Then she pulled a flash drive from her pocket and handed it to him. Liam plugged it in, transferred files. Elena knew, maybe not from the beginning, But she knew now, and instead of reporting it, she'd helped him hide it. Daniel's vision blurred with fury. How many lies had he missed? How deep did this go? His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered, his voice rough. Frost. Mr. Frost. It was Marty. You need to check the server logs. Tonight. Daniel frowned. Why? Because if Liam was willing to fake the data, he'll be willing to erase it. The line went dead. Daniel was already running for the door. The choice. The server room was ice cold, the hum of machinery filling the sterile air as Daniel burst through the door. His breath came in sharp gasps, fingers trembling as he logged into the system. Marty was right. Liam wasn't just a liar. He was desperate, and desperate men erase trails. The screen flickered to life, displaying the access logs. Daniel's stomach twisted. User, Carter, action, data export, time, 3:02 a.m. Liam had been here. Recently, Daniel's fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up the Nexalin files, folders upon folders of research, years of work, all pristine on the surface. But when he dug deeper, the raw data sets were corrupted, entire sections gone. Wiped clean, a choked sound escaped his throat. Liam hadn't just hidden the truth. He'd tried to destroy it. The door creaked open behind him. Daniel spun, bracing for Liam, for Elena, but it was Marty who stood there, his work jacket damp with rain, his expression grim. They're scrambling, Marty said quietly. Liam called Elena the second you kicked him out. They know you're onto them. Daniel's jaw clenched. The FDA arrives tomorrow. Marty stepped closer, eyeing the screen. Data's gone. Enough of it. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. Without the original files, we can't prove the drug's flaws or that Liam tampered with it. A beat of silence. Then Marty reached into his duffel bag and pulled out a worn external hard drive. Try this. Daniel stared. What is that? Backups. Marty set it on the desk. I've been copying the servers nightly for months. Old habit. For the first time in hours, Daniel felt something like hope. He plugged in the drive. Folders loaded. Untouched data. Pristine and unaltered. The real numbers. The truth. His hands shook as he scrolled. This is everything. Marty nodded. Enough to prove what Liam did. Not enough to fix the drug before the audit. Daniel exhaled slowly. That was the real choice, wasn't it? He could expose Liam, hand the FDA the evidence, and watch Frost and Locke collapse under the scandal. Or he could stay silent, let the corrupted data slide through, and pray the drug worked well enough not to kill anyone. Neither option was clean. He looked at Marty. What would you do? The janitor met his gaze. Steady. I already did it once. Spoke up. Lost everything. He paused. But I'd do it again. Daniel closed his eyes. 24 hours later, the Frost and Locke boardroom was packed. Tension so thick it choked the air. The FDA inspectors sat stone-faced at the table, their badges gleaming under the fluorescent lights. Liam and Elena hovered near the door, their expressions tight with barely concealed panic. Daniel stood at the head of the room, a folder in his hands. Before we begin, he said, there's something you need to see. He slid the folder across the table. The lead inspector opened it and froze. Inside, printed server logs showing Liam's late-night data alterations. Security stills of Elena handing off the flash drive. And beneath it all, Marty's backups, the real clinical results unedited. Silence. Then chaos. Liam lunged forward. Daniel, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. Daniel's voice cut like steel. You risked lives to save your career. He turned to the FDA. We're withdrawing Nexalin's application. Effective immediately. Elena's shriek of protest was drowned out by the board's uproar. Stock prices would tank. Lawsuits would follow. The company might not survive. But it was the right call. 1 year later, the new Frost and Locke lab buzzed with energy. Technicians murmuring over updated trials. The reformulated Nexalin, now transparent in its flaws and fixes, was weeks from resubmission. The FDA had praised their honesty. Investors, though wary, were returning, and at a corner workstation, Marty Kowalski sat, his janitor's uniform replaced by a lab coat, his hand steady as he calibrated a spectrometer. Daniel leaned in the doorway, watching. They'd offered Marty a job as a lab assistant after the fallout. Turns out, the man had a gift for spotting what others missed. "You coming?" Daniel nodded toward the conference room. "Board want an update." Marty stood, wiping his hands on his coat. "They still hate me, don't they?" "Oh, absolutely." Daniel grinned. "But they're scared of you now. That's better." Marty snorted, following him down the hall. Somewhere along the way, the truth had become their most valuable asset, and the man who told it, he'd save them all. Final line: sometimes the clearest vision comes from the last person you'd ever expect to see. If this story reminded you that heroes come in unexpected places, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe. More unforgettable stories are on the way.